The purpose of this lesson is to talk about a mathematical analysis called the index. What I especially like about using an index is that when it is calculated, you can automatically see if the consumption of a product is average, above average, or below average. It is an analysis used to make strategic decisions in media and marketing in general. After you finish this video lesson, you will be able to define and recognize the concept of the index, understand the concept of the Brand Development Index or BDI, understand the concept of the Category Development Index or CDI, understand how an index can assist in making strategic media planning recommendations, such as who, where, and when to advertise. Calculate an index based on consumer consumption and other relevant data, and recognize the application of an index calculated to make strategic decisions, and also report the results of a calculated index analysis based on consumer consumption and other relevant data. Let's just start with the basic terminology that you need to understand this lesson. The index is a mathematical equation that allows the comparison of an observed, say, consumption of a product and compare the frequency of occurrence within a demographic against the universe of the same demographic, where the universe of the demographic is considered 100% or normal levels. Anything above 100% is overconsumption. Anything below 100% is underconsumption. The basis sign is an arbitrary value of 100% or 100, and all subsequent data is expressed in relationship to this base. The Brand Development Index, or BDI, relates to the percent of a brand's sales or product consumption in a market to the percent of the U.S. population in the same market. You'll understand what this means. A brand or product can be, say, Coca-Cola or regular Coke. The BDI of regular Coke or regular Coca-Cola can be measured in a specific market in relationship with the consumption of other competitive soft drinks. The Category Development Index, or CDI, relates to the percent of the category sales in a market to the percent of the U.S. population in the same market. To continue with the example, the category for Coca-Cola or regular Coke is soft drinks. The CDI, for example, is the potential of regular Coke by measuring the potential of the soft drink category in a specific market and against a specific demographic within a market. The seasonal development analysis studies sales data over a period of time to identify what might be stronger selling seasons for the brand or the category. Defense strategy. This is to apply the marketing or advertising resources defending the brand's or product's business or market share as the most important criteria for decision. On the other hand, offensive strategy is a more aggressive approach and means that you have to apply the marketing and advertising resources looking for the biggest opportunity as the most important criteria for decisions, and not just where the biggest consumption is being done. So let's go to the formula. The general formula for setting an index is A divided by B times 100. Let me just write it down. It's a very simple formula. So A divided by B times 100, where A is the product consumption or whatever you're observing within a given demographic, and B is the universe of the same demographic. Now, over index, what does that mean? It means generally overconsumption or consuming more of a product or service as compared to the general population, which would be 100%. Under-index means generally under-consumption of or consuming less of a product or service, again, as compared to the general population, which would be 100%. These numbers are good indicators of how and where to allocate media resources. For this, you use something called syndicated research. Syndicated research is a research study which is conducted and funded by a market research firm, but not for any specific client. These studies and data services are purchased by marketers, media, and advertising agencies to use the data in order to make sound marketing decisions. MRI Simmons is a syndicated research company, and one of their standard reports is called the Survey of the American Consumer. This study reports on the products consumers buy, the brands they prefer, their lifestyle, their attitudes, and media preferences. It assists in making strategic decisions to allocate marketing and media resources on who to target, where to advertise or the markets, and when to advertise, or the weeks, months, quarters to advertise where it seems ideal. You can use the MRI Simmons database to identify your target. For example, if you're marketing, let's say, herbal tea, you need to determine who your target market is. Is it women, men, women specifically age 18 to 24 or 35 to 44, etc.? Simmons can help you answer these questions by looking at brand or category specific data. This is an example of one source. There could be many others. So let me tell you a quick story so this concept starts making a little sense. When I worked in sales for a major Spanish language television network, I was in charge of selling what is called product integration for live morning program or television. Although it has a few other names, let's call it product integration, which technically means integrating the product inside a program. So the product or the brand is also part of the show and not fall as a commercial in a commercial break. Obviously, being in sales, I started by making a list of the advertisers that were a natural fit to advertise in morning television. I started my target list with companies and brands that were obvious, like coffee, cereal, morning juices, restaurant and fast food franchises offering breakfast products, etc. After I made my list of advertising targets, I started calling and presenting the opportunity to integrate these products into our live morning show to marketing executives and their ad agencies. When I got to this specific orange juice brand, I called the company directly. When I got to their director of marketing, she explained to me that they were not advertising to the U.S. Hispanic market at all, which meant they didn't have a marketing budget, much less a television budget for the U.S. Hispanic market. It was an uphill battle to get them to advertise, but this marketing executive was a forward-thinking professional, and given the growth of the market, she knew it was the right thing to do. She asked me to give her the ammunition in way of research that could help her build the case of how much orange juice U.S. Hispanics drink and the potential sales they could represent for her company. If her upper management could be convinced and approve the budget, she would be able to advertise to the Hispanic consumer. Given that our network invested in syndicated research, especially MRI Simmons, it was an easy thing to pull the numbers and see what the story, the numbers told. Hopefully a good one. After the network research director pulled the data, we analyzed and saw that Hispanics over-index in the consumption of orange juice. That was great news for us. Now, armed with this data, we gave the numbers to this director of marketing for this major orange juice company to justify the budget allocation to advertise to the Hispanic consumer. Basically, what Hispanics over-index in the consumption of orange juice means is as follows. Remember that in this formula, A divided by B multiplied times 100, A is the product consumption you are observing. In this case, it was a consumption of orange juice in the U.S. Hispanic market. And B is the general population, meaning everyone else in the U.S., for this demographic. In the comparison, U.S. Hispanic drank more orange juice within their population than the general population drank in theirs. In other words, there was more consumption of orange juice against Hispanic or among Hispanic households than there was consumption of orange juice within the general population households. Do you start getting the picture? Needless to say, she secured the budget to test their first Spanish language campaign as a result of the Orange Juice Category Development Index, or CDI. Index really proved to be very profitable in way of sales commissions to me. The most common strategic analysis used in media deals with the specific questions of who to advertise, where to advertise, and when to advertise. So when you analyze these numbers and you see consumption within a specific demographic, especially above 100%, in a defensive strategy, you allocate your budget to advertise to the demographic that is consuming more of your product, or you're defending your strongest market share, as an example. The same logic applies to consumption in specific cities or region, or if the consumption is stronger at certain parts or times of the year. The offensive approach is more aggressive. With this strategy and using index data, you would recommend spending the media budget to support where the opportunity lies, which may or may not be the biggest consumption, but where the biggest potential is. This is not difficult, although it may give you that impression. Numbers can be great sources of information to make strategic decisions, and the more you understand how to use them and how they're calculated, the better decisions and solutions you will recommend. Okay? Let's start. So please refer to the video lesson PowerPoint on index to study the chart. We will keep this calculation simple and easy to understand, and we'll go to the basic index calculation in this session. Believe me, it can get far more complicated and creative, but my goal with this lesson is for you to understand the numbers, what they mean, and how to apply them. Remember the general formula of A divided by B multiplied times 100. But you have to calculate A and you have to calculate B separately in order to do this division. So let's start. So understanding the numbers, see that you have to calculate A first. So let's take A first. Remember that A is the product you are observing. In this case, and according to this chart, is cherry Coke consumption. By the way, you will notice that in this MRI-Simmons type of chart on the PowerPoint, there are several columns under cherry Coke, which is A, B, C, and D. You see them at the top. So for this example, we're only using the numbers on column A, and under column D is where the index number goes, which we're learning how to calculate. You can also see in the extreme left that there's a breakdown by demographics, starting by, and I'm going to write it down, just one, the one that we're going to be working on, adults 18 to 24. But you can see that it starts with all adults, and then it goes 18 to 24, 24 to 34, 35 to 44, etc. We will only do the adults 18 to 24 cherry Coke index. Now, back to the cherry Coke column A to calculate. So let's say if you look at that column, the total number of adults that drink cherry Coke is 11,578,000 people. So if you see the 3 zeros at the top of the column, it means that they have been taken out. But the number is in the millions. Now let's look at how many total adults 18 to 24, which is our demo, drink cherry Coke. And the number is, if you look at the chart, is 2,905,000 people, adults 18 to 24, that drink cherry Coke. So to calculate A, or the percentage of adults that drink cherry Coke out of all the adults that drink cherry Coke, is the 2,905,000, or total adults 18 to 24 who drink cherry Coke, divided by 11,578,000, or total cherry Coke drinkers. And that number, when you do the division, equals 0.2509. Let me make sure. Yeah, 0.2509. Now, remember that you have to multiply times 100. So times 100 equals 2509. So we're calculating, this is A. Okay? So now let's understand the B. Let me put it in a different color. Let's calculate B. Remember that B is the population for the same demographic you are observing for cherry Coke drinkers, which is adults. We're still adults 18 to 24. Let me make a distinction here. These are cherry Coke drinkers, or what you're observing. And these are population numbers. So the total population of all the adults that we're looking at in this example is 109,192,000. These are total adults. Now, total adults 18 to 24 in this example is 24,842,000. Now we're going to do a division. So remember, this is population that may or may not drink cherry Coke. Now to calculate B, or the percentage of adults 18 to 24 within the total population, or all adults in this example, is dividing 24,842,000, or total adults 18 to 24 in the general population, divided by 195,192,000 total adults in the general population. So that is 0.1272. Let me make sure. Okay, so now when you multiply this times 100, it becomes 12.7. Okay, so now this is A and this is B. So now let me erase the board. So now that we calculated A and B, we're ready to calculate the index. So let me write this down. Remember, A was 25.09, which is the percentage of adults 18 to 24 that are cherry Coke drinkers, divided by your B, which is 12.7. And these are the percentage of adults 18 to 24 in the population of all adults. So when you do A divided by B times 100, this gives you, again, this division gives you 1.97 times 100 equals, let me write it in another color, equals 197. This is your index. So the index is 197. So now let's understand these results. The index is for adults 18 to 24. So there we go. There we have the index. The index is for adults 18 to 24 cherry Coke drinkers, which is 197. And what this really means is that adults 18 to 24 are 97% more likely to appear among cherry Coke drinkers than they are to appear in the general population. And this is an over-index of adults 18 to 24 and a good demographic to target. Remember, it's 100. That's normal. We are at 197. Why? Because they're more likely to be your drinkers. Now, these slides here is to make sure that you understand the steps to calculate A divided by B, divide the results, and multiply them times 100, but you have to understand the numbers first. So now let's go with another example. So let me erase here. Let's go now with what is called the Brand Development Index. And again, in this case, it's using geography. So geographic or geographic development analysis is the specific index calculation to understand how well a brand or product category or brand are doing in a specific region. The resulting calculations are specifically called either a brand development index or a category development index. The brand development index is how well the brand's business or sales, let's say cherry Coca-Cola or cherry Coke, develop within a specific region. So now the basic formula of A divided by B is percentage of brand sales in the area, that's your A, divided by the percentage of population in the area multiplied times 100, that's your B. The category development index is how well the category of that particular brand or sales are, let's say, soft drinks, how they're developed within a specific region. So the basic formula is percentage of category sales in the area divided by the percentage of the population in the area multiplied times 100. So let's do a brand development index using geography and demographic sales, geography, and demographic data. And to do this kind of analysis, all you have to know is sales figures for each area and the corresponding population of each area. It is not difficult. You just have to understand the numbers and know how to apply the formula. So we're going to set what is called a regional BDI for cherry Coca-Cola for consumption among adults 18 to 24 in various regions. Remember that the same analysis applies to category data, meaning how well the sales in the category of soft drinks, rather than just cherry cola, which would be a BDI, is doing within a specific demographic and allocated by region. So let's understand the numbers. We have a chart with outlined regions, unit sales of cherry Coca-Cola or cherry Coke, allocated by region, and population figures for adults 18 to 24, again divided by the outlined regions. So let's begin our calculation. By taking all the unit sales of cherry Coke, you have to add them for all the regions to find the total sales of cherry Coca-Cola. This is your A in the equation. So again, what you're going to do is you're going to add unit sales of cherry Coca-Cola. I'm not going to write all the numbers. I'm just going to write the total. But you have to write the unit sales for cherry Coke for all the regions. So for example, if you see in the chart for New England, you see that is 277,000. For Mid-Atlantic is 1,000. Let me see something. Let me stay here for a minute. Is 277,000 for New England. And again, see the three zeros on top. Mid-Atlantic with 1,031,000. East Central with 919,000. West Central with 478,000, Southeast with 1,054,000, Southwest with 579,000, and Pacific 671,000. So when you add all these numbers up, their unit sales for cherry Coke for all these regions is 5 million. Let me write it a little further up. So we're calculating A here, which is unit sales of cherry Coke. So it would be 5,009,000 total unit sales sold for cherry Coke for all these regions listed. Now, the total unit sales will be your base to calculate the percentage of sales in each area that we outlined. You have to do this by taking the sales in each area divided by the total multiplied times 100. So for best results, you should know that the answer is just do at least 3 decimal places, and then you round up. So let's focus on the first one, New England. So the sales for New England is 277, oh, this is right, this is nice. 277,000 unit sales that come from the New England region, divided by your 5,009,000, which is total sales of cherry Coca-Cola for all the regions, equals 0.05530046. Now, you multiply this again times 100, and it gives you, and again, we're rounding up to at least 1 decimal point. So when you first do it, you write all the, the long number if you want. Then you round up, so because you want to be accurate. So the number rounded up is to 1 decimal point. It's 5.5. Okay? So this is, remember, this is your A. Now, let's go to the next calculation. So this is your A. Let's go to your B. So now, again, repeat steps 2 and 3 for the population figures of each geographic area. And now this is going to be your B in the equation. In other words, add the population of adults 18 to 24 for all the regions. You see in the chart that it's... let me go back to the original chart. Okay, here. It's 10,432,000. I'm not going to write them down. 10,432,000 adults 18 to 24 in New England. 33,414,000 for Mid-Atlantic. 25,623,000 for East Central. 29,279,000 for West Central. 38,021,000 for Southeast, 21,996,000 for Southwest, and 36,427,000 adults 18 to 24 that reside in the Pacific region. So when we add all these numbers up, and again, I'm not going to write all of them, just the total, and we're here in B. The total here is 195,192. Population of adults 18 to 24. And again, this is an example. So let's take as we did in the other example, the A, to the New England region. If you look at the chart, there are 10,432,000 adults 18 to 24 that live in this region. So let me go to that chart of B. Okay. So now what we have to do is divide 10,432,000 into 195,192,000 total population of adults 18 to 24 for all the region, and this gives you 0.0534481. So we write the full number. Again, round, let's multiply this times 100, and it's 5.344, but again, if you round up to one decimal point, it would be 5.3. Now, let me erase this really quick so that we don't get confused. So we calculated A, which was 5.5, and we calculated B, which was 5.3. This is your A, this is your B. Let me erase this so we don't get confused. So 5.5, remember the general formula again, is A divided by B times 100, multiply times 100, where A in this case is 5.5, or the percentage of sales in the New England region, divided by the 5.3, which is the percentage of the population of adults 18 to 24 in the New England region. It gives you approximately 1.03480,539. So when you do the multiplication, it gives you approximately like a 104 index. So what this means is that this is the index for consumption of cherry Coke among adults 18 to 24 in the New England region. Now, let's understand how to report the results. So the BDI against adults 18 to 24 for cherry Coke for the New England region is 104. What this means is that adults 18 to 24 are 4% more likely to appear among cherry Coke drinkers in the New England region than they are likely to appear in the general population. This is a slight over-index among adults 18 to 24 in the New England region, and perhaps not significant enough to play budget resources against this demo in this region. It depends what your strategy is. But if the strategy is to develop a certain area of the business, in other words, an offensive strategy or looking where the opportunity is, this region may represent a good opportunity given that cherry Coca-Cola is already being consumed by adults 18 to 24 in this region of New England by a slight margin of consumption. So again, make sure that you understand the steps to calculate the A and the B and divide the results A divided by B, multiply times 100. And remember, you have to understand these numbers and then follow the steps. After you do that calculation for all the regions in your chart, answer these questions. See if you can answer these questions. Determine which is the best sales region for cherry Coke, which is the world sales region for cherry Coke, according to the index. Which region would you select if you're following a defensive approach? Which region would you select if you're following an offensive approach? This is a much bigger discussion with far more applications, but at least you have the basic understanding of what is an index, how to set an index using sales and consumption data, and how to apply this information to make strategic decisions. Now practice with the other demos and the other regions in the chart and included in the video lesson PowerPoint, and I'll see you in the next video lesson.